A hearty good afternoon to you, or as my Aunt Bella used to say, how's your heart? Well, mine's pretty good for a number of reasons. The sun is shining on this March afternoon. The trees are, well, not quite regrowing, but they're coming back to some sort of life. And I'm feeling a bit that way myself. And I've walked many times in this Lurgan Park. I'm walking again today. It's the jewel in the crown that is Lurgan. If you haven't been, this is nearly the first place you should come and see and be in. So many people have come here just to walk, and some people have just came here to be. We're being here today. We're human beings. We're being. We're not doing, we're being. But we're also conversational beings. And one of the joys in life is to have a wee chat with somebody. Why? Well, because you get to know them. You get to know about things that they know about. You get a wee bit of gossip, but not too much of that, please. And you get to get an understanding of yourself. It's good to have a chat. In recent days, weeks, the ABC Council have decided to have a Chatty Bench in the middle of this beautiful park. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to come and have a chat with someone. A whole lot of people. Maybe it'll be you next week. But here on Your Lurgan, that's what I'll be doing. And you'll be able to see that across the weeks and months of this particular year. Because I #love Lurgan, I also love people. One of my favourite people is sitting on this very chatty bench today. Give them all a big wave, and that is Paul May. And Paul, we get to hear your story in a wee while. Paul introduced me to the fact that this was here. So I thought, well, if we're going to talk on the Chatty Bench, it would be best to talk to the man that told us all about it. So we'll do that now. Paul, you're very welcome.
Hello, Donagh. Nice to be here.
So you introduced me to this Chatty Bench. Brilliant idea. What do you think about it, first of all?
Excellent. It's what you call a big plus for the council to do this here. It's so important with especially now with the countries begin to recover from the COVID the last 2 years. Mental health is running riot at the moment. But it doesn't only just mean that this bench is for mental health, it's for physical health too. Because we do know that mental health will lead to physical illnesses like heart disease and cancers. So this is so important. And as I say, a thumbs up to the council for putting this bench.
Isn't it funny, Paul? You probably have the same belief as me that we here in Lurgan, not necessarily particularly, but certainly have a strength in liking to chat, or at least we used to have.
Especially around the Lurgan area, it brings me back just to a few years ago. I happened to be in Belfast with a friend of mine, strolling around Belfast, and we stopped at a bus station to get a bus. And I was talking to everybody, every person went past. And this gentleman who I know for years, he said to me, Paul, in Belfast we don't do that. And I said, well, we do it in Lurgan. They had lost the ability of whatever area he was from to actually stop somebody or talk to somebody, a stranger. So it's lovely that we have it here.
And I suppose, to be fair, that happens in many cities. It's about the boundaries. You start to create a boundary because you're bumping into so many people. That's the reason for that.
That's right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Cosmopolitan disease.
Well, yeah, we don't seem to have that here. We're too busy wanting to know people's business, which is one thing, and I'm not going to tell people to stop doing that because I do that myself. But it's in a conversational way. It has to be.
That's right. That's right. On my way here today, I live about a mile away, and on my way, 3 people stopped me to have a chat, and I thought I was going to be late to meet yourself, but I wasn't, thankfully.
And can I explain to you, Paul, that I was on my way to meet you, and I met 3 or 4 people.
Exactly the same sort of
different people, so we're in the same arena.
That's right.
So can you remember your first chat per se? I mean, I know we talk with our parents or whatever. Can you remember that first experience of a chat, or memorable ones along your life story?
I am actually from Warren Point. I lived there for 3 years in Warren Point, and then another 4 years in Narrowwater Castle. The actual castle itself, we lived there.
But should I genuflect? I just have to.
You can do it later, yes. Yeah. Well, what was coming to my mind when I was only about a year and a half, 2 years, I still have a memory back as for. I remember sitting in outside our shop window. We had a jewellery shop in Warren Point on the Diamond, and I was watching people going past, and one time there was a 12th demonstration, or not demonstration, sorry, they're marching around the diamond, and I was just beginning to speak. I remember speaking to my mother. She was standing beside me. I was in the pram. I remember saying to her, "Who are these people, Mum? What are they doing?" My mum being Welsh, and she told me a bit about what she was, So I remember that's my first actual chatting about something.
And those were the days when any community, never mind cross community, because I try to dismiss that word, community. We had difficulties in watching ceremonies of that nature, felt that we weren't welcome to some degree, or felt that we were there just for us. That was the spirit, that you could go out and enjoy that wherever you came from.
That's exactly right. Yes. Yeah, but it in particular areas there is people now, including ourselves, who are stepping over the threshold, reaching out, which is so important in our divided communities.
That's a conversation I'd love everybody to be engaged in. And by the way, if you're watching this, we do want to hear your thoughts on what we're talking about and the idea of chatting, because that's what we're about. Neither of us are here to stir any political revelations or otherwise. We're just having a chat.
That's right.
Just to know.
That's right. Not too far from where this bench has been situated, there's a little conifer tree. And anyone who passes the bench will notice on the right-hand side there's ribbons on it. That tree was planted in memory of those poor souls who committed suicide, which of course is exactly the reason for this Chatty Bench as well, to people peace of mind. So it's very appropriate that it's situated within eye view of that particular wee conifer tree.
Something else you pointed out to me, Paul, while we were sitting here, I think it hasn't blown away. I don't know if we can see it on the camera per se, but we're kind of looking towards some trees there. It's very hard to see in the sunshine, but there is a small multicoloured kite up there. Do you think it's there to listen in our conversation?
It could be very appropriate. Maybe there is a microphone on it. Could be. But it's unusual that it happens to just land above that little tree beside this bench.
There are conversations to be had about your life and living, and as simple as just about the tree, isn't it?
I love trees. I would say I'm a tree hugger. Although I don't go around hugging trees per se.
Do you know, I have seen you doing that.
Have you? Right, okay.
What you do in your own spare time is up to you.
But I do it in the context of how important nature is to our psyche, human psyche. People think that we are divorced from nature, but no, we are actually part of nature. And can I tell you a little story about nature just while we're on? Because it actually affiliated to what we are actually talking about, this Chatty Bench. It has now been proven that trees and plants communicate. Hard to believe, but a few years ago some botany scientists found that fungi, which are maybe a foot under the ground, 2 foot under the ground.
We're talking like mushrooms.
Mushrooms, that's right, and they send out dentrails, very similar to dentrails in our brain, between the synapses and the cells, and they reach out to each tree's root, which means that the trees can communicate, plants can communicate. But what's very interesting is, if there's an ailing tree, the trees that are healthy will send nutrients, extra nutrients to that tree to help it. Now, isn't that wonderful how nature is actually helping? And the tree might not even be one of its own breed, but they're helping each other. If you transmit that into what all we human beings, this is what we should be doing, and this Chatty Bench, it's an exact example of what we should be doing.
So the roots of you and your being and whatever are coming along underneath and up to me through spoken word.
Through the spoken word, that is correct, Donagh, yes.
It's amazing the power of the spoken word. I don't mean, well, it's used for all sorts. It's used to convince, it's used to share. To me, the most important thing is to share rather than the convincing bit of it, which you can use. I mean, you could try to convince me to believe something, but what's more important is for me to hear your story and be convinced myself. If that makes sense?
That is correct, yes. Back about, I think it's 4 or 5 years ago, there was a directive about the importance of green spaces and parks. to safeguard the mental health of the communities. And we can see by this wonderful park here how many people actually go around it here. People, when they walk through those gates, break into a smile. That's providing they weren't wearing a mask, of course. We wouldn't see them. But they break into a smile. The tranquility of the place. Now, at the minute the trees haven't leafed, they're just beginning to break into bud. But I'll give another little anecdote here about why I'm so interested in trees and wildlife and nature, because we're all part of it. There's a tree in this park, and I won't give you the name of it now, because maybe Donagh will do another interview where I can speak about this particularly. It loves its roots in water. It used to be called in ancient Ireland a lady's tree, a giving tree, a nurturing tree, which is a strange name. In mainland Europe and the Celtic tribes of mainland Europe prior to the Roman invasions, it had a different connotation, but I won't speak about that now. What this tree actually does, and what another item does, when it's near a water source, a bacteria or bacterium connects to the roots of the tree, and it develops into a nodule, a large nodule about the size of your fist, and it produces nitrogen. So the tree is beneficial from the nitrogen that's been produced by the bacterium, but the bacterium itself is gaining nourishment from the tree. Now, they're complete two different entities, but there they are, mutually helping each other. I think that there again, if we relate that to human beings, you don't have to be a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist. You can be anybody who can reach out to somebody else who needs help.
Paul, you've been doing that all your life, I know that. You've reached out there with another option for us to find out more about the trees that are in here, because I know you've been part of trying to be encouraging of people to come and see the trees, and have had a tour, a walking tour. I'm sure you're going to be doing more in the near future, but we'd love to come with you with a wee camera and get the stories of those individual trees, if that's not too much to ask.
That would be excellent, yes, Donagh, I would really enjoy that.
Well, it's been lovely to chat to you. We've got more to chat about and more people to chat about on the Chatty Bench.
Donagh, would you finish now? No? Right. I'll just speak one more little item here. As we're sitting, we're surrounded here by the daisies. Their name is Bella parentis. Bella meaning beautiful. And they're a symbol of innocence, beauty and youth. What's so special about them is those little flowers are an image of a sun. So they're little suns actually looking up at our life-giving sun. That's it, Donagh.
Paul, we started this off with a welcome from my auntie Bella. How's your heart? Bella parentis. It finishes us with, that's a perfect ending. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Don, for having me. And I really enjoyed our chat on the Chatty Bench.